Welcome to Case Law Videos. Today we are discussing about a recent Guwahati High Court judgment in between Neha Himat Singha versus State of Assam. Judgment was pronounced by Honorable Mr. Justice Manish Chowdhury on 16/7/2020. Advocate for the petitioner, Mr. R.C. Sanchati. Advocate for the respondent, Public Prosecutor, Assam. Judgment is about Section 138 of the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. As the provision of Section 138 of the NI Act is of utmost relevance, the same is quoted hereunder. In a proceeding in respect of an offence under Section 138 of the NI Act, the court has to consider at first whether the ingredients of the offence under Section 138 have been complied with. As per Section 138, were any check drawn by a person on an account maintained by him with a banker for payment of any amount of money to another person for the discharge, in whole or in part, of any debt or other liability to that other person, is returned by the bank unpaid, either because of the amount of money standing to the credit of that person being insufficient to honor the check, or that it exceeds the amount arranged to be paid for that amount, such person, subject to compliance of other condition, shall be deemed to have committed an offence under the section and be punished for a term which may extend to 2 years, or with fine which may extend to twice the amount of check, or with both. Thus, under Section 138 of the NI Act, where a check issued by the drawer of the check in discharge of any debt or any other liability is returned by the bank unpaid because of the amount standing to the credit of that account is insufficient, or it exceeds the arrangement made with the bank to honor the check, the said accused is deemed to have committed the offence. As regards compliance of other conditions, the complainant is required to present the check to the bank within a period of 6 months from the date on which it is drawn, or within the period of its validity, whichever is earlier. In the event of dishonor of the check on its presentation for either of the reasons aforementioned, the payee or the holder in due course of the check has to make a demand for payment of the check amount by giving a notice in writing to the drawer of the check within 30 days of the receipt of information by him from the bank regarding the return of the check as unpaid. If the drawer of the check fails to make the payment of the amount within 15 days of the receipt of the said notice, the cause of action arises for filing of a complaint. Thus, on a reading of Section 138, the cause of action for filing a complaint alleging commission of the offence under Section 138 of the NI Act can be said to have arisen when the following acts are completed: A. Drawal of a check by the accused in favor of the complainant on an account maintained by him. B. Presentation of the check by the complainant to the bank for collection. C. Return of the check unpaid for one of the reasons mentioned in the section. D. Issuance and dispatch of a notice in writing within the stipulated period of 30 days to the drawer of the check to make payment within 15 days of receipt of the notice. And E. Failure on the part of the drawer to make payment within 15 days of the receipt of the notice. Until the 15 days notice period does not expire, it cannot be said that the cause of action to file a complaint for commission of the offence has arrived. In other words, the cause of action for filing of a complaint accusing the accused to have committed the offence arises only after expiry of 15 days period from the date of receipt of the notice in writing. Section 142 provides that the court shall cognizance of the offence punishable under Section 138 of the NI Act upon receipt of a complaint in writing made by the payee, or the as case may be, the holder in due course of the check. Such complaint has to be made within 1 month of the date on which the cause of action arises under Clause C of the Proviso to Section 138. Discretion is also given to the court to take cognizance of the complaint even after the prescribed period if the court is satisfied that the complainant has sufficient cause for not making the complaint within such period. The petitioners have been arraigned as accused number 3 and accused number 4 by virtue of section 141 of the NI Act, which reads as under. Section 141 of the NI Act has envisaged vicarious liability on the part of the directors or other persons mentioned therein of the complaint company who were in charge of and responsible for the conduct of the affairs of the company at the time the commission of the offence. A person would be vicariously liable for commission of the offence under Section 138 of the NI Act by the company only in the event the condition laid down in Section 141 in the NI Act are satisfied. The scope and purport of Section 141 of the NI Act have been considered by a three-judge bench of the Supreme Court of India in SMS Pharmaceuticals Limited versus Neeta Bhalla 2005 8 SEC 89. Thereafter, the legal fiction incorporated in Section 141 of the NI Act has come up for consideration before the Supreme Court in a number of cases like Sabita Ramamurthy versus RBS Channa Baswaradhya 2006 10 SEC 581, Saroj Kumar Podar versus State NCT of Delhi 2007 3 SEC 693, SMS Pharmaceuticals Limited versus Neeta Bhalla 2007 4 SEC 70, Everest Advertising Private Limited versus State Government of NCT of Delhi 2007 5 SEC 54, in Rengachari versus BSNL 2007 5 SEC 108, NK Wahi versus Shekhar Singh 2007 9 SEC 481, Paresh P. Rajda versus State of Maharashtra 2008 7 SEC 442, DCM Financial Services Limited versus JN Sareen 2008 8 SEC 1, Ramraj Singh versus State of MP 2009 6 SEC 729, and KK Ahuja versus VK Vora 2009 10 SEC 48. After making a survey and analysis of all the aforementioned decisions and in reference to the provisions of the Companies Act 1956, the Supreme Court of India in National Small Industries Corporation Limited versus Harmeet Singh Paintal, reported in 2010 3 SEC 330, has once again summarized the principle of vicarious liability incorporated in Section 141 of the NI Act in the following manner. From the above discussion, the following principles emerge. The primary responsibility is on the complainant to make specific awareness as are required under the law in the complaint so as to make the accused vicariously liable. For fastening the criminal liability, there is no presumption that every director knows about the transaction. 2. Section 141 does not make all the directors liable for the offence. The criminal liability can be fastened only on those who, at the time of the commission of the offence, were in charge of and were responsible for the conduct of the business of the company. 3. Vicarious liability can be inferred against a company registered or incorporated under the Companies Act 1956 only if the requisite statements which are required to be avowed in the complaint petition are made so as to make accused therein vicariously liable for offence committed by company, along with averments in the petition containing that accused were in charge of and responsible for the business of the company, and by virtue of their position they are liable to be proceeded with. Vicarious liability on part of a person must be pleaded and proved and not inferred. 5. If accused is managing director or joint managing director, then it is not necessary to make specific averment in the complaint, and by virtue of their position, they are liable to be proceeded with. 6. If the accused is a director or an officer of a company who signed the checks on behalf of the company, then also it is not necessary to make specific averment in complaint. 7. The person sought to be made liable should be in charge of and responsible for the conduct of the business of the company at the relevant time. This has to be averred as a fact, as there is no deemed liability of a director in such cases.